The Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Mondli Gungubele, confirmed that the payment system's challenges, which saw more than 600,000 social grant recipients not able to access their September payments, has been resolved. The official Joint Ministerial Media Briefing on SASSA Social Grant Payment by Postbank also apologised and said that the system glitch was a result of a systems upgrade the bank is introducing. Almost half of South Africa's population depends on some form of social grant for their livelihood. Yesterday, Minister Gungubele also opted to remove the whole Postbank board after damning allegations of a forensic investigation report on service providers who have been unlawfully contracted. Now, 3 non-executive directors and board chairperson had already resigned. That was on Tuesday, citing interference, increasing hostile and oppressive attitude of the minister towards the board. Let's talk a little bit more about this and of course some of the implications from this whole situation. Thandiwe Zulu, Black Sassa's Gauteng Regional Manager, joins us this morning to talk about this. It's so good to have you. Thank you. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, and comfortable to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Thandiwe. Did yesterday's Joint Ministerial Media Briefing on the SASSA Social Grant Payments by Postbank, did it come too late?
Look, it was not only about late, it was about not being paid on the day that it was supposed to be paid. Remember, every month there's 3 days of grant payment at the pay sites where like the older people are prioritized, and then the disabled people and the caregivers for the child support grant. So in this instant, on the day that the older people were expected to be paid, there was a non-payment of those. So it's not just only delay.
Yeah, it was. Let me perhaps re-ask that question. I think what I was asking was, do you think that the statement from the minister came too late? That the issues around Postbank have been left for too long, and now we're looking at it's the 15th of the month. People hadn't been paid, and there's been a lot of problems. Do you think that this action came too late?
Leanne, this action is very, very late. The problem with the post system, with the Postbank system, are not issues of today or of last week. This has been ongoing for quite some time, ever since Postbank took over from SAPO in October when the contract was ceased. From November last year, we experienced glitches. And every month, as the Black Sash, we do go out to the pay sites and we do monitoring with our community partners. Every month, this is an issue. And we have been raising this to say, can the Postbank fix this issue? Last week was just a disaster.
Yeah, and this is...
So it has been happening. So what they did yesterday
is far too late, is what you're saying. But let's perhaps get an idea of what the reality on the ground has been for the more than 5 million beneficiaries that are paid their social grants via Postbank SASSA gold cards monthly since the migration from the SA Post Office to Postbank. I mean, as you say, there have been glitches for so long, all the time. But what is it like on the ground? How are people surviving like this?
That's where the problem is, because, I mean, the reason why we have the social assistance is because people are not able to maintain themselves and those that are dependent on them. So can you imagine when you are waiting for something that gives you livelihood, and then you get to a date and a pay site where you're supposed to be getting your grant, and you are told you are not able to, or you go to the ATM and the ATM rejects or declines and says there's no balance on your account. These people have, they hire cars, like especially the elder ones, they hire cars to get to where they are able to draw their grant. And by the time it's the grant payment, most of them already have run out of funds. So they would be on credit to the site and they get there. Unfortunately, the grant is not there. Yeah. And now they will be stranded. Like last week, I mean, we saw on the media and everywhere where grannies were sleeping on the pavement, stranded, not knowing how they will be getting back home. It was through Samaritans in some instances that were able to take them back. But over and above that, Leanne, it's also a question of their right. This is not a privilege that the government is giving. It is within their right that they need to be taken care of. Now, our system, the Postbank system, SASSA, and all that are involved are failing to meet that right.
You know, it's heartbreaking when we hear stories like that. And I mean, I heard Minister Thandiwe Zulu yesterday also talking to the fact, you know, one of the questions was, can the elderly be refunded for the transport that they took to get there and then were stranded? How do we assist them? How do we do that? And again, the minister saying, you know, we cannot do that. That's a precedent we can't set. So you can understand how desperate the situation for people on the ground was. Now, the Joint Ministerial Media Briefing, as I'm alluding to, on these SASSA Social Grant Payments by Postbank, they apologised to the beneficiaries. They did, especially the elderly and persons with disabilities. But can I ask you, from what you know, were these the only two groups who were affected, or were there more groups that were affected by this as well?
You mean groups as in SASSA or
as SASSA payments,
or groups as in
SASSA
members of the public?
As in SASSA beneficiaries? Obviously, we know the elderly, we know people with disabilities, but were there others that were affected?
I think our internet is probably.
Were there other groupings that were affected?
Sorry, Leanne, I missed.
Looks like I
missed much of your question.
Okay. Let me
connectivity. I'm load shedding, so
the story of our lives.
I missed part of it. Yes.
Let me try again. Were any other groupings or beneficiaries of the grants affected besides elderly and disabled? All right. No, it doesn't seem.
It's the major groups are your elderly, are your disabled, and those that are the ones that are drawing the grant for the children, the caregivers, and those were the main groups that are in the system in any case and have actually been grossly affected.
Okay, all right. So there were more, obviously those with child grants. So the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Mondli Gungubele, said that originally approximately 600,000 beneficiaries were affected.
Lost you there.
Yeah, okay. Let me see. Let me try one last time. Are you able to hear me?
I've lost you.
No. All right. It doesn't look like we can continue with this. It looks like the connection.
I can hear you for now.
Okay, you can hear me now. All right, let me try and resume it then. I'll try one last time. So the minister was basically announcing the removal of the entire Postbank Board of Directors. And this is after some of the members also resigned on Tuesday, citing interference and undue pressure from the minister. How can these developments impact future social grant payments?
Well, Leanne, the issue of governance is important, but if those things for us, those are important things that they need to have taken care of. I don't want to comment much on that, because as I say, that issues of governance are important. Whatever is taking place there, we are not privy to. All we are concerned about is the fact that whatever is going on there should not have an effect on those that are vulnerable and those that are dependent on the state for their survival. And hence we are then saying the minister must launch an urgent investigation in terms of what is it that is going on in the system, and how will they mitigate against that moving into the future. The CEO from the post office has saying the glitches are always there was a very a slap on the face, because how do you say that when you are actually supposed to fix? What is it that is wrong, that is actually blocking people accessing their human rights? Fix that, and live up to the commitment, and live up to the constitutional commitment that as the government you have. So really, the issues of governance are important, but let's also not lose sight of who is affected, and how do you then make sure that those that are affected are not, those that are vulnerable are not grossly affected. And also what is also remaining, and that we are saying needs to be taken care of so that we are able to hold Post Office and SASSA accountable, is the issue of them not signing that master service level agreement. Let that process be completed, because then it carries in it what penalties will go in whoever is being contracted by SASSA. Now, at the moment, that service level agreement is hanging. It's not signed, it's not completed, and who do we hold accountable? It's a mechanism for us as the members of the public to be able to hold them accountable.
Thandiwe, final question, very quickly. Minister had said things are sorted now. Postbank said everybody's being paid, things are back on track. Is that what you're hearing? Are people sorted now?
No. No, that's not. As late as they were in the conference, there were people in Lenasia Post Office who were complaining, griping. I'm just citing Lenasia, where it's close to me and I'm able to get there. There were grannies that were there saying we have not been paid, expressing their frustration. Whilst Leanne, no, it's not.
It's not resolved.
And, issues may be resolved, but people have not been paid.
They still haven't been paid. And Thandiwe, that's the point I want to leave it on, because that's the point I think we need to pick up on, is that we were told it's been resolved. You're telling us from what you know on the ground, it hasn't been resolved as of yesterday. Thandiwe Zulu, Black Sash Regional, Gauteng Regional Manager, talking to us about this. Please get hold of us on social media if in fact you know of somebody who also is still in a position where they haven't been paid, even though it's been said that it has been sorted.